Hey everybody. Hey, I just want to make a short video on your vacation checklist. Summer just started kicking off here, um, depending what time of year you're watching this. But I want to make a checklist of how to prepare your home before you go on vacation. Some of my buddies make fun of me because I have a physical checklist that I physically print out that I have already pre-made, and right before I close the doors for leaving for vacation for a week and a half, or whatever, just a checklist on what to do to shut down my residence. Excuse me. So this is for a regular house, single family home that I have, and this is my small little checklist that I like to share. I don't have any special video effects or anything like that, or showing what my toilet looks like and my shut-off valves and my light switches look like. So if you're here for that, sorry, I'm not going to help you on that. But either way, I got a small list here, and I'm going to start with number one. Since my home has gas, I shut the or turn down the hot water heater to either vacation mode or shut off, depending how long I'm going to be gone for. Each hot water heater is different. If you don't want to deal with pilot lights or anything like that, then I'm sure there's a vacation mode. Or if you have an electric hot water heater, you can go to the fuse box and shut it off completely. Another thing, if you get ambitious, to open up the front panel and just change the temperature to something to the lowest that you possibly can. This way, you're not heating up water that you're really not going to be using for the week. Another one, not any particular order, but I shut off the main water supply. I do have the luxury of shutting off the water supply from the street. I went to Lowe's and I bought a special tool that turns the valve off from the curb itself. I don't know how many times I heard over the years, not a lot of people, but enough to create such a havoc, some magical water pipe busting decides to happen when you're on vacation. Don't know why, but I learned from their mistakes and lessons, and instead of coming home to a flooded home and thousands of gallons all over the house, I shut off the main water supply. This is just a given. This is obviously right before you're leaving. Lock all doors. Obviously, I walk around my house with my checklist and make sure all the doors are locked, every entry point of my residence. It's, seems kind of silly, but even though some doors may be locked, you're better off always checking, especially if somebody has kids. You know how kids love to open up doors and look out the window, etc., etc., etc. In my case, I have blinds. Make sure the blinds are all closed. You don't need to get any peeping toms out there looking right directly into your home. You don't need that. Since I live in the deep south, your AC thermostat or your heat if you live up north and it's cold out. In my case, AC thermostat. I don't shut it off. I just crank it up a little high enough, maybe like 80 degrees, 81 degrees, just to fire on when the temperature in the house, if it does get that hot, just fire it on and to take the humidity out of the air, and you're not really coming home to a musty smell. And whatever you're comfortable with. In my case, it's 80, 81 degrees. Make sure all your lights are off. You may just walk out of your house and, make that mental checklist in your head. Oh God, did I turn off the lights in this room? And of course, they're like either ruin your vacation or just, bothersomes of you saying, hey, I'm not sure if I locked that door or shut that light off. Even shutting off the stove, even walking to the stove, making sure it's off. Just in my case, rest assured, make sure it's closed or turned off or whatever the case may be. And so some people, like myself, I have a grandfather clock. I like to make sure it's wound up and all set for the week, because when I come home, it's usually about an 8-day wind. Make sure it's it's running, and it's usually a pain in the neck to get it started again. But that's just a small little minor thing if you have that, or if you have a wind up clocks or whichever, something to always look into. Do a walk around outside. Make sure everything's all secure. Make sure the kids' toys are put away, or nothing, no tools are left out, or whatever comes to mind. I mean, if it doesn't belong there and normally don't want it out there, absolutely, just check it out, see if you want to put it away. In my case, close the gate. Make sure the gate's closed. Typically, I'll do that on the morning of. Either the kids will open it, or my lawn guy won't close it all the way. Or if you want to lock it completely, in this case, since I got a lawn service guy, I don't want to put a padlock on there, and he's not going to mow the backyard. Outside lights, if they're on a timer, be sure the timer has been working properly. In Florida here, we usually get power outages with those afternoon thunderstorms, and just knocks the power out for about 30 seconds, and for whatever reason the timer needs to be resetted. So if that happens during the vacation, there's not much you could do about it, but at least the day before or the morning of, it's a good idea to check that into that. Another thing I typically like to do is to prop open my dishwasher. With my dishwasher, you just basically taking a paper cup, for example, and just pulling the door open, but having the door basically push itself closed, but by putting the paper cup against the dishwasher and the counter. This way it's a little ventilation. Because there's always water in your dishwasher, especially at the bottom, that doesn't get pumped out completely. That just prevents from stinking real bad. Another thing, I personally power down my electric oven, my range. I do have gas in the house, but power down my oven through the fuse box. Just never know. I mean, I've heard stories, things just miraculously catching on fire or short circuit, or who knows. Just rest assured, at least the power is shut off, and it's not going to have that doubt in your head, oh God, did I shut the oven off, or make sure the stove is completely shut off. At least that takes away the anxiety of did I turn it off. Same thing, toaster ovens. I don't know if anybody else has experience, but I had a toaster oven actually short circuit, and by leaving it plugged in, sometimes these things get older, and going from 400 degrees, starts melting the circuit boards, or the wires are inside. I always make sure that's totally unplugged. Same thing with my coffee maker. Also, make sure your mailbox is empty. Typically about a good week or two before vacation, I'll go on the U.S. Postal Service website, and you can hold your mail. The last thing you need is to have some bills come in, or we don't want bills to come in, but you don't want your mail piling up in your mailbox for a week, and somebody going through and stealing your credit card statements. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's got all that personal information on it, so that's a good thing to look into. In my case, I have a patio. I just double check to make sure everything's secure, no toys, and my kids like to go out to bring their electronic games out there. Make sure it's not out there in case it does rain, and the humidity, I don't want things to get damaged or broken. So just inspect your back patio area. Another thing I've seen people overlooking, take out all the trash. The last thing you need is coming home to a stinky house, including the small little garbage cans in your bathroom or your office, especially if you have got kids and they're always throwing things in the garbage like candy wrappers, and you just don't want the extra stench. And speaking of lawn guys, my lawn guys are in the backyard now. But, take out all the trash. Fortunately, I've made arrangements with my neighbor to put it into their garbage can. When garbage day comes around, at least it'll be in his garbage can, and it'll get taken away instead of sitting, in my case, the garage, because our HOA doesn't allow garbage cans to be stored outside. We got in our garage we have backup refrigerators and a deep freezer. Make sure the refrigerator's closed all the way, or the temperature adjusted. I find my kids going in there for their juice packs or water to drink, and apparently they'll not close the refrigerator all the way. You don't want your refrigerator running the whole entire time you're on vacation. The same thing with deep freezer. Make sure that's closed all the way, properly sealed, or if you don't have much stuff in there, just put stuff in your regular freezer and shut it off, depending what you have and how much you have. I usually do this. I shut off all the master switches to my TVs in my house. Everything's on surge protectors, so I just kill the switch. I typically don't knock out my internet because I do have a smart home, so I like to make sure everything is running fine. Make sure my smart garage door is still closed and all that kind of stuff. So I shut that off. No sense to run the what they call phantom power or the phantom power, something like that. But you got my point. No sense to leave power going to your TV if you're not going to watch it, especially when it goes in standby mode. It does use power. If you will have a DVR, if you want to unplug it, but then again, you're not going to record your shows. So that's just another consideration. In my case, we have gutters in our residence, and might have these special pipe drains that connects right to the gutter itself, the actual downspout, just to pull the water away from the house. Make sure we're all connected. Typically, my lawn guys will move them out of the way and mow, and sometimes I'll forget to put them back. So usually I'll try to catch it, on my day of departure. In my case, I have the front loader Samsung washer and dryers. I typically open up the doors, leave the doors open, which I always do anyways, even when I'm home. Just people were saying those things start getting like a musty smell if you leave it closed, and so I always leave the drawers open, even the soap dispenser thing. And it doesn't hurt if you have an upright. Why not leave it open just to circulate the air, so you're not again, I'm sure there's water standing water inside the unit itself, especially the washer. Little joke here. Try to see if Grandma could take the kids for the week. Usually that doesn't go over well, but it's worth a shot. In my master bathroom, I do have a glass shower door. I typically leave that open, so and if you do take a shower that morning, at least you're not going to get mold buildup or like a musty smell. That will help it as well. Turn the this is a funny little thing. I turn off my ceiling fans, especially ones that are on remote control. I have to override them and shut them off. For some reason, a neighbor's got a remote control ceiling fan, and somehow my light will automatically turn on, or the ceiling fan will automatically turn off. Yeah, I'll probably get some messages, oh, we changed the code. Yeah, I did it already, and for some reason, it's especially the light will just come on whenever it feels like. So I got to override it with the wall switch so it doesn't turn on. So that's just a small little thing. Let's see here. My dining room lights. In my case, I have a dimmer. And I love how my kids turn on the lights and they want to shut it off. They use the dimmer slider, but not really shut off the lights. The lights are technically still on. So that's another thing, you're going to be using power. If you own a barbecue, to make sure the actual gas is shut off, including the knob from the propane tank. That's an easy thing to overlook. I had auxiliary lights in the garage for some utilities there. I had that, so I made a little mental note to make sure that's shut off. Another thing people overlook, especially if you're flying out of town or somebody's picking you up and you got your car's in your driveway, take the remote control out of your car. You don't want somebody to bust the window open and, oh, great, there's the remote control to the garage, and bam, the garage goes up. So that's another good thing. I usually do both. I typically put my garage door opener into vacation mode, and this way the garage door opener will not respond to any radio frequencies or any remote controls. If you have a car especially if you have a car that has the built-in garage door opener in the center console type thing that's built into the car, it's always a good idea to shut it off, vacation mode or whatever they call it, through the garage door opener inside the house. We got a side door. Again, it's back to doors. Side door to our garage. Typically doesn't get used, but you never know if somehow it magically got unlocked somehow. So I always double check that. Just turn off any necessary lights, night lights. My kids love to sleep with night lights on, so I just double check to make sure night lights are all shut off. We do have some ambiance lighting in our foyer when we come in. They're on a timer. We have 2 lights. I just shut one off and leave the other one on. And pretty much that is it. I mean, if you have flowers, you may want to, stage them in a certain area. If you have automatic sprinklers, make sure the timer's, working fine and working well for your yard. And one of the other things as well, since you're shutting the water off, I mean, it's not making a difference. Make sure your, spigots, garden hoses on the side of the house. And we have reclaimed water, and I don't want to shut that off because the sprinklers are connected to it. I make sure the spigot for that is completely shut off. I have a hose connected to that, and don't want to, have my garden hose to bust while I'm gone. So. These are just small little tips. I'm sure people have their own routines and other things that they do before they shut down their own residence, but this is one of the lists that I chose that works for me. So I hope this certainly helps, and thank you for watching.